This video is called Why Eternal Hell is a Joke. And I say that confidently with the Lord's blessing because I guess it is a joke. Here's why. Several reasons. First, there's biblical evidence. In the definition of love in 1 Corinthians 13, we see that love keeps no records of wrongs. Love bears all things and believes all things and hopes all things. And if God is love, and eternal hell is for those who God has kept a record of their wrongs and has not borne with them and no longer believes in them and no longer bears with them. Here's a thought. If a person on earth were to take it upon himself to round up all the evil people in the world and all the people that didn't believe in Jesus and put them in a pen somewhere and torture them with the absolute worst kind of torture imaginable without end, whenever they got close to death, he'd, stop the torture, put them on an IV, put them on life support, all those things, wake them back up, just in order to continue the torture. How do you think God would treat that person when we're commanded to love our enemies and do good to those who persecute you and bless and not curse and all these things where God says, however you want others to treat you, treat them, right? He himself is kind to grateful and ungrateful and evil men, and he sends rain on the wicked and the good, and all these verses that command us how to treat people, right? Even evil people. So how would God treat that guy? With blessing? Would he say, there's my boy, you're just like me? No, God would kick his ass, to put it mildly, because you don't treat people that way. Now, he might appreciate it if he got them to stop the evil that they were doing, but that's a different deal. Here's more biblical evidence. First Peter says that the gospel is preached to those who are dead, that though they are judged in the flesh as men, they may live in the spirit according to the will of God. It says in another place in First Peter that the gospel was preached to the spirits now in prison who were once disobedient in the days of Noah. Right? So there's a couple of verses. And then I love I believe it's Psalm 107 or Psalm 137, where it shows us where God saves fools and sinners along with everybody else. Jesus said there's a time coming when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of Man, and those who hear it will live. Right? You never hear those verses preached in church. As well, if you think about eternal hell, if you think about the fact that, like, according to typical Christian dogma, the majority of human beings are going to be burning in hell forever, while a select few don't. A select few are up there with Christ, just sipping margaritas and laying on their lounge chairs and relaxing, with the express knowledge that everybody else is just burning eternally with no chance for escape. Is that a life that you could live? Can you live with that? I can't. I wouldn't. I would be picketing the gates of heaven, saying this is insane. Then there's the attitude of those who advocate for eternal hell. If you dare to disagree with it and say, I don't believe it's true, they look at you with horror as if you're a heretic. And if you actually stop and think about it, the opposite should be true. Those who advocate for eternal hell should be looked at with horror. You're advocating for what? It's like, and they say, well, Revelation says so. Well, Revelation says a lot of things, and it's my honest opinion that much of it is symbolic, as so many other things in the Bible are symbolic. People say, the Bible says what it means. Well, Jesus told parables, probably 30 of them, that were symbolic. It just goes on and on. So I personally know that there is no such thing as eternal hell. However, having gotten to know the Lord, I do know that consequences for actions are a component of love, as is justice. These are both components of love, as is discipline, right? So all of these things are certainly components of God's character and are in line with his love. As most of us have learned, most of us are dealing with the consequences of our actions and we're not enjoying it. If we're honest, most of us are living there to some degree, right? And if you're living in a relationship with the Father, you are being disciplined by him. As it says in Hebrews, if you're without discipline, you're an illegitimate child. So we know that when we are disciplined by him, it's a proof of our sonship and our daughtership in front of him, right? And we're living with the consequences. We're being disciplined by him. So these things are normal, okay? And justice. But if you think of true justice, what would it look like? It's certainly not going to be fun for evil people. In fact, it's going to be what you might expect, but it's not going to be that guy just torturing them endlessly, okay? Like anybody who did that, we would all, like if there was, say that guy was a judge and that was his decision, was to torture all those people endlessly, right? If there was a judge that did that, we would all disband him and there would be outcry against him from every quarter. No one on earth would want that guy to be a judge. Not one. Not the most conservative, not the most staunch, not the most strict, Baptist, Muslim, atheist, you name it. Nobody would want that guy to be a judge. They'd all be like, this guy's a jerk, to put it mildly. And they would find somebody else who was a judge who would certainly implement consequences, certainly maybe keep them contained, certainly stop the behavior by sane means. Absolutely. And they would experience justice, and they're certainly not going to enjoy it, whatever it looks like. But eternal torture of the worst kind with no death, right? However that works, I don't know. You have a body and they just keep bringing it back to life in hell? What? I don't know. It makes absolutely no sense when you actually think about it. And theories like this, beliefs like this, drive people insane. I've heard it come out of their mouths. Why? Because it is insane. It's insane, maniacal sadism of the worst kind. It is not in line with God's character at all. Those other elements are in line with his character, and it's not going to be fun for people who need it. Thank you, and have a nice day.